What's up guys, Nightingale here, welcome back to another video. Today, I wanted to do something a little bit different, since we're here at the very end of Last Kingdom. We got about 5 hours left on it, and it's given me some time to sit back and think on the event, and made me want to talk about actually the last 3 anniversaries. So it's been a year since we had the Overzone anniversary event, and I wanted to ask a question that we will try to answer at the end. Was Last Kingdom actually the worst story for the anniversaries we've had so far? So to get those answers, let's actually go look through this objectively from a few point of views. Let's roll back all the way back to last April, and Overzone has just dropped. Thankfully, due to archives, we are able to go back in time. Now, you guys know, I've already made a video on here on Overzone, and you guys know how hyped I am for this story. This changed everything for me. This was literally the crown jewel, the thing that got me to actually come back to Nikke, because Chainsaw Man was an absolute drag. The collab just sucked. All right, let's be real. Couple cool units, but absolutely worthless in the end. But Overzone changed everything. Why? Voiced side story. That was one of the big things. It's like, okay, they're actually starting to listen. They're actually starting to go in the right direction. The story was giving information that felt like this should have been the beginning of the game. You know, there was like a lot of lore that got dropped here. But then there was something different about this. This was a little bit done differently. Dorothy was obviously the banner unit at the time, and had just been out in the story. It released, I think, a month prior. Dorothy was starting to show up in the side story. And it was now answering some questions. Who is this? You know, who is she? But here's the cool thing. This went back in time. We went back to the Goddess Squad after Red Hood's. This is 50 years after Red Hood. And we start learning about, you know, the split. Why wasn't Dorothy with the Pilgrims? You know, when we see Rapunzel and Snow White, and Scarlet, why isn't Dorothy there? This starts setting this up. So we go through this. We live this story with her. We really start to, as much as we kind of want to hate her, because she is kind of that bratty Regina kind of character, you end up feeling empathetic over the things that she had to go through. Then we had something interesting, which was the mini-game, the White Memory, which was kind of an honest garbage mini-game, to quote-unquote call this a mini-game, but it was. But the thing about this is, if you ended up reading it all the way through, you found out that this literally told you who was coming next. The clues in here literally told you Red Hood was next. There was too much stuff pointing to her, talking about her. There was like no way Red Hood was not the next, gonna be the next Pilgrim. So, sure enough, we fast forward the clock. We got no cutscene in this one, but we roll the clock forward, which I don't think are these in release order? Yes. And then we jump into Red Ash. So last end of October, beginning of November, actually beginning of November, we got Red Ash. And welcome to the Avengers Helicarrier. Avengers Assemble. I mean, what? We were given Red Ash. Probably one of the most iconic characters so far added to the game, Red Hood. The community absolutely fell in love with Red Hood. One, partially because of this story. You finally got to understand who she was, and you also understood now 2 of the broken mirrors in Overzone. One was Lilith, and one being Red Hood. So we get this picture now even further back in time. We go back to when Red Hood was still around. It takes you through this journey, and you're really diving in and learning a lot about Red Hood. And then my quirk with this is they dropped the ball with Rappy and Red Hood. I figured we were going to see one of 2 things, neither of which we did. Red Hood finally, her demise, or the point where they swap when they add the core to Rappy, or whatever happens to Rappy that Red Hood gives her core. But I'm assuming that's going to be the second anniversary, especially with what they're showing off with Rappy now. I'm wondering if we're going to get it. I do not want a summer unit. I do not want a winter unit. I want SSR, straight costume Rappy, exactly as she is. Mini Red Hood. You can make her a pilgrim at this point, and I'd believe it. Because she is technically a pilgrim because of Red Hood. We also got a very interesting mini game, one that I wanted to punch in the face, but I loved every moment of it. It was that it hurts so good kind of thing, which was Memory of Goddess. I still haven't beaten this thing, and we'll eventually get back to Memory of Goddess and unlocking this and finally beating level 30. My RNG just never lined up, and when I did get it there was still some RNG that was missing. But this was a wonderful idea, a wonderful addition. I absolutely had a blast, and I cannot wait for Mog 2. I wish there was something changed, and I've also got a big rant that's not going to go in this video about what they did post-release after they re-released this. But there is something they definitely need to fix there. But anyway, so we get this story here, and we get the pieces of the puzzle. We get an animation, which is awesome. It looks really good, but it also looks rushed. If you look at the animation, it did not look top quality like their intro. You could definitely tell it was we had to cut production time somewhere, so there were some pretty janky frames. Or sequences, I should say, not really frames, but there's a couple janky sequences in it. But hey, at least we got to see Red Hood pile drive Cinderella with her sniper rifle, and that was great. And it shows us just how disgustingly broken Red Hood really is. They did fix something here, too, that we want to praise, is during the anniversary, Red Hood wasn't that great of a character. She was subpar for what she should have been, and they at least honored it and buffed her during the event, and it was well worth the buff. She's definitely still one of the tops, and she really took a place, I think, in a lot of people's hearts. So now, let's jump up to just recently. The Last Kingdom. So, it wasn't a big surprise to see that Crown was going to be the Pilgrim unit. Honestly, I was expecting Crown and Chime here. I honestly was expecting Crown to be the pulled unit and Chime to be the free unit, but they did not go that direction, and we did not get a Pilgrim duo. Instead, we got Kilo. Now, going through this, it's quite interesting to see, and I was curious to know what they were going to do here. I was pretty much caught up on the story. I've seen some stuff that was leaked through whether it be people playing, leaky pipes on certain websites, you know. I already knew kind of what was happening in the story, and I know everything, for the most part, up to the current chapter. I also knew what was going to happen in this, because, again, websites. Now, that was okay, because I'm more interested in seeing how the story plays out than the actual ending. I don't care about stuff like that. I want to see how it plays out more than it does, because it's interesting to watch how somebody writes something. But let's talk about the writing of this. Story 1 started out, alright, we're talking about, you know, we're here at the kingdom, and we are getting introduced to Kilo. We're getting introduced into, you know, we're getting Crown and Chime involved. Modernia's here, or Marion's here. And as the story progresses, the story feeling like it was more about Kilo than it was Crown. But who's the banner unit? Crown. Well, that continues on into story 2. It becomes more about Modernia and Kilo than Crown. Literally taking the backseat to the whole event story that is supposed to be about her. Even to the hard mission final thing they're trying to set up for the future. Of, you know, saying, is Marion the Rapture Queen? the story was not about Crown. We did not get a Crown origin story. We did not find out more in depth about Crown other than Chime's little interaction of it. This felt like a lost opportunity to really explore her. But for me, and I think it did for a lot of people, there's something else that happened with this story. Because of how they wrote Crown, it made me hate her more than fall in love with her. I'm lucky that I actually pulled for her and MLB'd her before I actually saw the story. I don't think I would have. Because it really kind of upset me on how stupid they wrote her. She's an idiot, in plain terms. She's like that, I kind of have my moment, but I'm pretty much an absolute imbecile 98% of the time. But it didn't feel endearing. It didn't make me feel like I got attached to it. It pushed me away from the character. It did just the opposite effect of what Red Ash and Overzone did to Dorothy. As much as I kind of hate what Dorothy's about, I still feel really bad because of the Pine scenario. I feel bad because of watching her having to suffer. Not being told the truth, not knowing that Oswald actually saved their lives, that if they'd have gone back to the Ark, they would have all been killed. He saved the Goddess Squad, not hurt them by exiling. He saved them by exiling. But that's not very well told. But that's the truth of what happens. Here, it's just a setup for now something in the future of the story. We are now dropping, we've been wanting to know what's up with the Queen. We've been wanting to know all this. Now we're starting to find out Marion might be that. Or is she the Queen? Or is she a part of the Queen? Well, we know they stole Lilith's head because of Overzone. There's a lot going on in here that just made this not feel like a story about Crown, which to me it should have been. Make you fall in love with the character should be your goal 101. Now, I know a lot of you probably are hard simping over her. Great, cool, congratulations, pat yourself on the back. You can leave the video. This isn't about that. We're not here to simp over one character or another. We're more here to talk about questions. The minigame was not as appealing nor as addictive as Memory of Goddess because it's kind of a one and done thing. Once you go through it, you've seen it all. You can play out this scenario with a bunch of different characters. If you just love tower defense games and you're bored and you want to play it in Nikke, congratulations, you have the ability to. But it wasn't that I gotta try again, I need to push further. It was never about that in this minigame. And it really bugged me long term that wasn't something that wasn't as endearing. But again, not every minigame can hit or can be a hit. Like I said, Overzone was really bad with its, visual novel thing. It kind of was garbage, but at least it gave you the clue. Here, it filled in a little bit of story play. Cool, that's neat. Red Ash, Memory of Goddess, also filled in some story and very interesting moments, but the constant grind of wanting to keep digging deeper was not from this game. There's been many absolutely garbage minigames. This one was definitely a time passer for me. Now let's talk about one of the final things of the events is the double costumes. The double gacha costumes to sell story-based skins in gacha form. So you're looking at 140 USD to buy them both outright if you do not get lucky. It's pretty bad to not drop just one, which Crown I was expecting. To get Modernia was not expected, which also is another big spoiler if you didn't just pay attention to it. They called her a queen in that as well, which totally gave it away. I knew that from day 2 of this event whenever the Leaky website showed this stuff. I knew that's what she was, or what they're hinting towards by the title. Because it is literally something Rapture Queen is in its tag. Or Rapture Heretic, I believe. The Heretic Queen or something like that is what it's in its tag. So, I mean, you kind of had an idea that that's what it was doing. But to put 2 up in this is... You were really hurting after ReZero is what it looks like. But I'm still optimal. Or, not optimal. I am still optimistic at what the future is going to hold because I keep hoping that second anniversary will be awesome. I do not care about the summer side story. I do not care about the next collab. They are meaningless in the end. Pilgrims have become the only thing you actually need to worry about because they're just going to overwrite collab unit kits. It's just what they do. So we're going to see the kits from ReZero at some point, and I'm sure that'll probably be Rapunzel or some other support Nikke will get that from a Pilgrim and better. So they lost me on a lot of different things there. And as far as the story's concerned, yes, this is important. But how much of the community can actually get there? We're talking 350,000 combat power is the current chapter's, I think, high mark. That's 100,000 below me. That's 100,000 below where I am. And I'm pretty diligent about collecting most everything. So I'm curious, outside of Giga Spenders and lucky, I guess, maybe on certain drops, I don't know. How many people are actually going to see where the story is currently to know what's going on? So this story might be quite out of context, but it's cool, it's interesting what they talked about. So now to sum this up real quick, to answer the question, was this the actual worst story they had released? If we objectively look at it from story, from the way I saw it, it didn't make Crown endearing. It made me pushed away. To me, that seems like poor writing. You should make me want to love the character. The sacrifice thing of, you know, constantly having to take up all the molecules and stuff, that was like, okay, we can see this coming a mile away. She's got something that she's storing up. Also, I mean, the animation of this one was lackluster as well. Cool, explosion, 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 Michael Bay, Michael Bay, Michael Bay, and look down, look ominous, and cut. Pretty crappy animation, but then again, it's not the anniversary, it's the half anniversary. But, did it tell you more about the character itself? Other than the lore of the character of, she's now got this armor that can absorb power? Okay, cool, we get that. Did it tell me anything else much more other than she's guarding this seed here? Not really. Everything else we learned that was actually story vital was about Kilo and about Modernia, or Marion. We learned more about them than we did of Crown and Shine, or specifically Crown. So to me, that is a fail on that aspect. The story was focused around the wrong character. Because Modernia's had her time to shine, she does not need another side story. Well, or just a side story in general. She's been through, her story is the main story. So to bring more side story of her kind of feels a little weird here, especially when it's supposed to be the focus point of Crown. Minigame, moot. I'm not a huge tower defense person. I can enjoy them, but it's just, it didn't get me hooked to want to play it all day long. So objectively looking at this, was this the worst? No, it's not the worst. Is it bad? Yes. This was a bad attempt because I feel like you missed the mark in certain key places. To me, you should have made Crown more endearing by make you love her through the stupidity, but they did not do that. They did not spend enough time on her. They developed Modernia and Kilo far greater than they did Crown. You could have even made Chime the secondary main character and would have probably been more interesting. But they didn't do that. The minigame gave interesting appeal to how they did the side story, or the telling the story with the minigame. That's kind of neat. That was cool, but a little bit annoyed at times because I'm just wanting to move on through and I didn't want to have to play the full game, but you had to. Thankfully, it didn't take a lot of time, but still, having a hard pause for that kind of sucked. At least with the Memory of Goddess, we could have gone through it later, which we did, and we're able to go through all of the minigame later, getting all the little side scenes. As far as the gacha thing, I hope that doesn't come back. I hope this shows them to be careful, but I'm sure a lot of people bought both. I'm still undecided if I'm even going to get the crown one just because of the tickets that are typically have high value for me, the gear typically has high value for me, and all the other stuff of it tends to have more. But I don't think I am this time. I think I will probably end up skipping crowns. And that's kind of unusual. I have all the other main costumes. I'm not going to get Modernius. The best one was given out for free. Don't at me, but it was given out for free. That's my 2 cents on it. So now it's up to you. You go out and take a look at all this, and you see. It's not my, this is just my opinion. But for me, I felt like they missed the mark. I wanted to know more about Crown, and I didn't get that. I didn't get what I wanted out of this, which was to know more about her history, learn more about her future, learn more about the character. Don't make me hate the character like they did. Now I really don't care what they do to her. Because unfortunately, the more I watched, the more upset I got about it. She's an absolute idiot. Compassionate idiot, but an absolute idiot, and I can't do that. So, good luck with your search on this answer, but this was mine. This is how I ended up answering. And now, let's see what year 2 has to bring. So thank you guys so much for watching. Take care. We'll see you in the next one.